Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches here. Welcome to my channel where together we sew. If you've been to my channel before, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're brand new, thank you for being here. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when I go live or post up new videos. So today on my channel, we're working on my Secret Garden Spring Mystery Quilt. This is block number 5, and you can see it hanging on the wall behind me. This is my Sweet Pea block. This one has quite a few half square triangles, although I kind of love half square triangles. So let's go ahead and get started because this one's going to take just a little bit longer than the previous weeks. Okay, so to assemble the Sweet Pea blocks, you're going to need everything that is shown on the pattern, all your yellow, pink, aqua background squares that are 4.5 inches, and your pink, green, and background squares that are 3.5 inches. Everything is listed on the pattern, so I'm not going to go through that right now. You can grab that from my website, and like I said before, the link is always in my description box. The cutting instructions, the fabric requirements, and all the blocks are still up on my website, including this week's. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the corners of the block, which are very similar to a couple of the other blocks we've done, with just making the 4 patch, just like that. So I'm going to sew these two together, and then put those pieces together. And you're going to do that 4 blocks for each. You're making 2 squares. I already made the one that I showed you, and then I'm making the second one with you guys. So you're going to make 8 of these squares all together, 4 for each block. So this is kind of the easy part of this block. Not that any of this is hard, it's just a little bit more time consuming because we're making about 20 half square triangles per block. And don't forget to put right sides together and sew 1/4 inch. And always sew with my patterns, I always write them for a true 1/4 inch. I don't love the scant thing, the whole scant business, so I always write my patterns for a true 1/4 inch seam. So if you do the scant, your seams are gonna, or your blocks are gonna come out a little bit off. Just a little hint there. So I'm going to press these towards the dark sides. And then sew them together like a 4 patch. We've made these for a couple other blocks a few other weeks, so you're probably quite a pro at 4 patches by now. But the good part is that means that this part's going to go fast for you. So if you open that up, your green should be in one corner and your pink should be the opposite of the green, and then the white's opposite. So then I'm just going to iron this to save myself a little bit of time later. I'm gonna iron it. It doesn't really matter which way you iron it, but I've ironed them all to the green, so I'm just going to keep on with that pattern. Okay, so there's that one, and I did pre-make the other ones that I need for this. So there's those. I dropped one on the floor. I'll grab that in a minute. Now I'm going to move on to the half square triangles. Now, for the half square triangles, you're going to have 3 sets of color. You're going to have the yellow and the pink, which you need to make 2 sets of these for each block. So you're going to have 2 yellows and 2 pinks for each block for the center of this block. So if you're doing both blocks at the same time, you're going to have 4 yellow, 4 pink. And then you're going to have blue and white matched up, and then you're going to have pink and blue matched up. And for this block we have, let me check just to make sure I don't tell you guys the wrong thing, you're going to have 8 squares of blue and 8 squares of background. No, I apologize. 4 squares of background and 4 squares of blue, 4 squares of blue here, and 4 squares of pink, and then 2 squares of pink and 2 squares of yellow per block. So double that for 2 blocks. So draw your line to do half square triangles on the back of all your white fabric, so your background fabric, whichever color, whatever you're using, because I know there's people out there using things other than white, which is awesome. And draw your line on the back of all your pink fabrics, which is fabric B for my blocks. So if you're using a different color than pink, whatever your B fabric is and whatever your background fabric is, draw that line corner to corner on all of the B fabrics and all of the background fabrics. And then we're going to sew on either side of the line to get our half square triangles. And then we're going to cut these apart, trim them or iron them out, and then trim them down to 3.5 inches square. So let's go ahead and get sewing these. So you're going to have a pile of pink and yellow, pink and blue, and white and blue. So you would have 4 of these stacks, 4 of this stack, and 2 of the pink and yellow. Now my thread just broke. I was going to say I'm sewing on either side of the line and I just flipped around, but my thread just broke, so we're not going to just flip this around. It happens. I'll rethread my machine. This is my new machine and I like it, but I haven't quite figured it out completely yet. The tension works just slightly differently than my old machine, even though they're both Genoese, and it's been a learning process to get the right tension to where I get nice pretty stitches but where the thread doesn't break. So bear with me a little bit. Okay. Line that up better. Now you can pin these if you need to keep them together. That's perfectly fine. The good news is if you don't have them perfectly lined up, it's all okay because we're trimming these down and you do have some wiggle room. Goodness. Those stitches look really good, but the thread keeps breaking, so I'm going to have to adjust the tension. The thread just broke again. So sorry, guys. Okay, sorry about that. My machine had some technical difficulties. I had to clean it out a little bit and fix the tension. I think it's good to go now, hopefully. Fingers crossed, so we can get through the video and I can give her a real good cleaning. Anyway, I finished sewing up all those blocks to the left and to the right of the center line. Now you need to cut them apart on that line that you drew. So I'm just going to do that. And then we're going to iron all of these. Now you want to iron to the dark side. So I'm going to press this with, I'm going to put some of my solution on here. And I'm going to finger press these to the dark side. And then iron them. Now, with all the blocks, I pressed the ones with the white and the blue to the blue, the ones with the pink and the blue to the blue, and the ones with the pink and the yellow, I pressed towards the pink. So I did a couple of those off camera just to save some time, because that part always takes a while, the pressing and the cutting. So I pressed the yellow towards the pink, and on these I pressed the pink towards the blue, and I'm going to press these towards the blue. So and then after you press all these critters, you're going to trim these all down to 3.5 inches. So I'm going to grab my Creative Grids ruler that has the diagonal line. This is the 6.5 inch ruler, and I've pretty much used this ruler for the entire sew along so far. I really love this size ruler. It seems to work for nearly all blocks that I do for trimming up half square triangles, or pieces of blocks, I should say. So this is one of my favorite rulers. It's becoming one of my favorite rulers. It's a little bit more manageable, especially when I'm filming, because I can't use it's hard to use in this small space a bigger ruler. I would say my other favorite ruler is probably the 8.5 by 12.5 size. But like I said, for filming, really am loving this 6.5 inch ruler. I'm really happy that I have it. Okay, so that's all of the blocks trimmed up. Put my ruler aside without spilling everything over here. I'm going to put my rotary cutter away because I don't need that anymore, and I don't want to accidentally cut myself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to join all these half square triangles that we just did together. So you're putting the colors together. We're going to put these blues together, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch, and we're going to put the yellows together and sew 1/4 inch, and the same thing here. We're going to put the blues together, or you could say you're putting the pinks together. Actually, I think the blues have to go together, yes. The blues together. So, let me check these yellows. I think the yellows actually have to go together, yes. So the yellows together, the blues together, and the blues together. So the background fabric on the outside, the pink on the outside, and the pink on the outside. So yellows together, blues together, blues together. Okay. Yeah, those yellows didn't look right when I put them together at first. Sorry about that. So I'm going to sew 1/4 inch down the side here. And if you're doing all your blocks at once, instead of one at a time, you could just chain piece all of these. It'll make it go quite a bit quicker. Scissors, cut these apart. All right, Now, I've already sewn, of course, some of these ahead of time, but you will end up with 4 of these units, you'll end up with 4 of these units, and then you'll end up with 2 of these. So I'm going to bring those pieces over that I've already done. So these pieces, the yellows, we'll start with that, are going to meet right in the center. So what I'm going to do is I've already ironed this one and I've ironed it to the right. So I'm going to iron this one to the left so those pieces nest up really nicely. You can iron these open if you're happier with that, or you can iron them the same direction if you like to do that. I wouldn't recommend that because it doesn't nest up as easily, but you can iron it whatever way you like. This is just the way I would do it. And then I'm going to put this piece together before I work on these other ones, because then this is done and out of the way, and that's the center of your block. So we have the corners of our block done here, and then we'll have the center done. Gonna iron that, and I'm just gonna iron that one direction. Since they look the same either way, it doesn't matter if you go up or down. Okay, so there's my centerpiece. Add that to my pile over here. Now, these pieces here, I've already made these up. You're going to use one of the blue and white and one of the blue and pink, and those are going to fit together. So I've already made those as well, so you can see. I'm going to put those in my pile. There's another one, and you're going to make 4 of these per block. So again, it doesn't matter which way you iron these, but I like to iron them opposite directions, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. That way they fit nicely together when I go to sew them. So for any of you that use this Acorn pressing pen, because I know a lot of you have asked me about it and a lot of you have purchased it, so thank you for that. Mine is starting to drip a little. When it starts to drip, it's time to replace the tip. You don't have to replace the entire pen. There is replacement tips, just so you know, and I'm going to do that when we're done here because it's starting to drip because it's wearing out. That does wear out on these after a while. I've had that question, so I wanted to answer that, and the dripping reminded me to answer that question. So okay, so I've pressed these in opposite directions. Now I'm going to put those together, nesting them in the middle, and we'll have our last piece of the big block done. Okay, so this one is done. I'm going to iron that towards the blue and the pink side, just because there is a little bit of white. I don't know if it'll show through. I don't want it to, so these are a little bit bulky, but I don't think they're bulky enough to need open seams. So Okay, I've got that pressed. Now, move the pen. I'm going to lay out this block. So these are going to be the top, bottom, left and right. This yellow, like I said before, is going to be the center. And then you're going to put the corner pieces, so the pink touches the pink and the green is on the outside corner, the outside edge. So you're going to have the pink touching the pink and the green on the outside. And again, just like all the other blocks, I designed this again like a 9 patch. So then we're just going to, oops, this one's the wrong way. So we're just going to sew this together like a 9 patch. And as you can kind of already see just from me laying out, now it looks like a flower. It's so pretty. Okay. Okay, thank you so much for sewing along the Sweet Pea block with me. As you can see on the wall behind me, we're starting to really have a garden coming up over here, a flower garden. So these are all the blocks we've done so far. We've done peony, sweet pea, bluebell, rose, and the tulip block. I could think of the last one. So next week will be the last block, and like I said, the week after we'll put all this together in a quilt top. So I am real excited about this. I cannot wait to see all yours. I am thrilled that you all are posting on Facebook and Instagram and sharing your pictures with me. I'm loving seeing what you're coming up with. So can't wait to see you next week and look forward to sewing the last block with you. Take care and have a wonderful week. Bye!